kick off again. A lot of the answers were fabulous, but a little bit longer than I planned, so I've got a plethora of questions that aren't going to get answered tonight, but we'll maybe have to do this again. One of the questions that I wanted to end the first session with was for Becky. You have had the feel-good story of the year, without a doubt. You've taken many a young girl's dream and made it a reality. Have you celebrated enough?
Well, this seems like the perfect opportunity.
Oh, Lord. I mean, forced to have one of these.
To the bomb!
This is not just celebration, this is actually Jaeger, so it's for Jaeger. Bomb.
Hey, good lad! It's revolting, isn't it? So my dad's favourite quote from the Olympics was that on the TV I became Becky Moody from Barnsley, 44, favourite drink Jaeger bomb.
Come on down.
So I think it's going to be like on my gravestone probably. Yeah, I mean the funny thing is I don't actually like them all that much anymore. I have said that my next horse will be called Water. So if that answers your question, have I celebrated? Yes, I have.
Can I ask Becky a question?
Absolutely.
I've asked this of someone else in your position too, and her answer was maybe different than yours, but where does an Olympic bronze medalist keep their bronze medal?
Well, it's currently sat in my handbag on the wall over there.
I think we should see it. Do you think we should see it? I haven't seen a medal, actually. Yeah.
I'll go and get it in a sec. So at the moment, it did actually come in a very nice presentation box. So the presentation box just kind of chills around wherever it does at the moment. There is a plan ultimately to put it maybe in a frame on the wall. But for now, it just hides in my kitchen and comes out whenever somebody wants to have a look at it.
I think it needs to be a breastplate for Jaegerbomb.
I mean...
Put that medal in the centre of the breastplate.
It's heavy, but it's not that big.
Does it have a lady on it?
Hang on a minute.
She can turn it into a buckle, like Western Reigning. You can wear your big medal on a buckle.
Becky, the reason I asked was there's a girl I know from Australia named Sonia Johnson who was an Olympic eventer, and she won a silver medal. Can't remember what Olympics, but I saw her after the Olympics. It was probably a year later, and I said, "So where does an Olympic silver medalist keep their silver medal?" And she pulled it out of her pocket. And she had it in her pocket. And I don't know if has yours got a lady on it? Can I see that? No, it doesn't.
No, it has...
No, it has the lady. So, Sonia... Holy cow, that thing's heavy. Wow, that's a gong. So Sonia said, so there's this lady here. She used to have nipples, but I rubbed this thing so much I rubbed the nipples off of her.
I have not yet rubbed the nipples off. And I don't wear it that often because it's really heavy. And if I had £1 for every time someone took it and went, "Oh, it's heavy, isn't it?" I would actually be able to retire now.
Fantastic. Another round of applause, I think. It's a pretty... You cannot celebrate these type of achievements.
It could do the rounds in a bit.
So we have some questions from the audience. Only a couple, 2 or 3, but nobody seems to put their name to it. So maybe when I start reading it, if you want to put your hand up if this one is yours. So it's good questions, actually. Why, in an industry that is full of women, are there so few women that do training like yourselves, and why do you think that is?
That's definitely maybe not so much at me. I think that's more at you two. But I mean, there's a lot of women in the dressage side of things. There's certainly a lot of women riding. All our individual medalists in Paris were women. I think the FEI rankings at the moment would be dominated by women. Just saying. Woo! So yeah, I mean, I do think in my particular bit of it, the women is the girls are strong.
I think this lady was suggesting trainers rather than riders and competitors.
Yeah, but I think think
It is. Who's our person? Oh, there we are. Thank you for.
More in sort of like Warwick Schiller's field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because there's quite a lot of coaches.
Room, how many men are actually very few.
That is very true, but yeah, I think that
Riders, particularly, I just mean in the sort of
more in their side of things, that you don't see so many women do the
very
Am I allowed to say something that might be considered sexist?
Go for it. Go on. Bring it on.
So, and I talk about this at clinics, and I'm trying to make a point. But I say, you might notice that a lot of people who are in the training business, especially these teaching people how to train horses, and they're in the problem-solving business with horses or whatever, are men. And I says, because here we go.
This is going to be good, isn't it?
This is going to be good. If we want to be in close contact with the opposite sex, we have to start out where they are and give them what they want before we can get what we want. Whereas women, if they want whatever, they can go, and it's like, okay. And the point I try to make with that is I try to tell, most people you're dealing with, like in a clinic situation, are women, and I say, the shoe's on the other foot. You're the man, and the horse is the woman. And you've got goals you want to reach with them, but you can't go straight to those goals. You have to have the first date, the second date. You have to be empathetic. You can get what you want in the end.
I mean, would you like a digger instead of a spade?
It's an analogy about empathy and understanding and realising that it's a relationship, it's not an act.
I get that. I am just being, facetious. Thank you.
Facetious coming from the Greek word feces, meaning to talk shit.
I am good at that too.
No, I meant I was talking shit, not you, sorry.
I have a few different theories on this, sort of directly related to the question you've asked and why we see... Do you know what? I always make a joke saying, where are all the boys at Pony Club? They're in these secret training camps and then they wheel them out to compete in jumping at the Olympics, don't they? Like, there's no boys at Pony Club or riding club or low-level competition, and then you go there and it's just 300 male Whitakers. And for me, part of it is, I think... There is a stigma still. I was bullied at school because I rode. Because, it's a girl's thing. Boys shouldn't ride. And so I think any boy who decides to stick... And I was from a horsey family, and I still felt it a lot. Do you know what I mean? And I think any boy that decides to stick with it gets so much praise and so many opportunities for being a boy that's involved in a sport where they're discouraged, that I think it unfairly weighs them in some of those aspects. I've been told from my point of view, I don't know from the teaching thing, I'd be interested to ask you, we just did an event last weekend called Horsemanship Showcase. There were dozens and dozens of trainers there all day. Hardly any of us are male. I think sometimes, and I'm just going to start that again, this isn't something I think, this is something I've been told. And I disagree with this. Let's say that again. I've been told this, and I disagree with it. As a performer, I'm told that with a majority female audience, they prefer to support and see a male performer than a female performer. And I disagree with that. But I don't have an answer to that in any way at all. But if you're asking that because you feel lost for a strong woman in the natural horsemanship or liberty world, then I can definitely throw some names up and out to point you in that direction. There are so many phenomenal women who are incredible and sharing that knowledge. But yeah, I think there is a strange disparity, and I also wonder if part of it is due to what we see at the lower levels within that, and how that skews it. But I think it confuses you and I as much as anybody else.
Yeah, that was kind of a glib answer before I gave that uses analogy at clinics, but I really don't have a good answer for that. I mean, I think they are way better suited to the job than men, really. You know, they by nature are empathetic, caring, sensitive, aware, pick up on the feelings of others, and so, you know, check all the boxes for what would make a good horse trainer. So, I have no idea, really. Sorry.
Do you think we're too emotional?
No.
Not possible.
Don't so like project our emotions onto the horse. Because we just
I think anybody can project emotions onto the horse. You know, I think men in general can, you know, turn towards anger quickly, and women can probably turn towards sympathy quickly, and sympathy is different from empathy. You know, sympathy is feeling sorry for, empathy is feeling with. So yeah, I mean, I don't think either of the sexes are the perfect applicant for the job, but I do feel that women are much more suited to at least the way I look at things these days, because I feel, you know, I think people probably feel like, oh, if you're starting young horses, you've got to, you know, you've got to be tough because they're going to do this and that and something else. But I feel if you have a solid enough process and really can work on having a horse with a regulated nervous system, all that reason to be tough is non-existent, because it takes two people to argue, you know. So yeah, I don't have a great question, but I don't think I have a great answer at all.
Okay, I think this might be Lynn's. Great answers, by the way, guys. Ben, when did you realise Malik was so special?
Oh, that was quite deep into the journey, if I'm honest. He was amazing. I got him, he was 6 months and weaned, just weaned. I was 18. That was a 18th birthday present. What a better kid's birthday present that was. Absolutely not. Green plus green equals black and blue. And I thought me and him were going to be spectacular together. We started doing stuff. I did some shows with him doing Liberty and stuff as a 3-year-old, and he was spectacular. And I was like, oh, this is it. Me and my, you know, people call it your heart horse. I was like, me and him together. He then realised he still had his love muffins at this point and just made my life hell. Like, I can't... It's so funny, because when I tell these stories, I have these conversations, and people say, I've followed you from the beginning. I know the people who've actually followed me from the beginning, because they'll say things like, not, oh my goodness, isn't Malik amazing? They go, I just can't believe what you can do with him these days. Because he was... I'm going to rephrase that. Words are very, very... I think we throw words around carelessly, and the words you use to tell the story of your past become your life. I was nowhere near the horseman I needed to be to train Malik at that time. And I will be forever in his debt for that, because he'll never be the horse he could have been. Because as much as I think this is a hard topic to touch on, but it's a great place to get it out. If you train something terribly in the past, you can't fully erase that. You can't. You can make it better, but you can't fully erase that. Either illogical or misplaced or mistimed training. And with him, you know, a few funny throwaway stories. I was doing a show with him once. I turned around to ask him to bow. He just went, boom! He cantered through the back of the arena. He jumped the gate out of the arena. He jumped the gate out of the collecting ring and took him back to the lorry. Malik is the reason that Your Horse Live, that's on in November every year, they don't have potted plants in the arena anymore. Because he ran off during a Liberty performance and then proceeded to throw the potted plants around the arena, and then actually threw one into the crowd, which hit a woman on the front row. Honest, I swear, go to Your Horse Live and look in that arena. There's not a single pretty flower or piece of foliage in there. That's because of Malik. And it was really made me think I was pretty terrible at what I did. And then when I finally got the results that I was getting, I was like, oh my goodness, I can actually do this. And then I started training other horses and was like, oh my goodness, it doesn't actually have to be as hard as it was. But I think it's such a hard question to answer because you can't tell. You can't tell how good a horse could have been, because if I got 3-year-old Malik now, he'd be a completely different horse. So if you go through my Liberty team from the youngest down to the oldest, they're a bit like the rings of a tree in terms of training.
But equally, if you hadn't had him, you wouldn't be the person that you are. So it goes both ways, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, needed the challenge.
Warwick has a question
I have
for
a question, Becky.
Worried again?
Don't be. How, because you were reserved for the Olympic team, and then through a series of events you end up on the team, and then you're quite successful. How has that changed you as a person? How has that affected your confidence, or has it? Like from 6 months before the Olympics to now?
So, no, I don't think it's affected my confidence as a rider in terms of that particular event. That horse has had a massive influence on my confidence as a rider, but not because of the Olympics, because of the journey that we've been on together. It's changed me a little bit as a person, because I think it's not changed me as a person. It's helped me continue to develop as a person. I think because of in a stupid way doing things like this, and I also think because of the place that we find ourselves within the equestrian industry at the minute, I think one of my biggest things is that we have to learn to be better communicators. And actually, one thing that I feel I have taken away from competing at the Olympics is that it's teaching me to be a better communicator. It's changed me more from that point of view than it has as a rider and a coach, I think.
Perfect. Yeah, this wasn't really a horse question or a rider coach question. It's just, you answered perfectly. But yeah, that's great to know. I'll hand over to you for the questions.
Add something small onto that. When asked about how being so tremendously successful at the Olympics was for you, you didn't reply with, now I'm more confident in any way, shape or form. You replied with an answer that was, I know what the next thing I'm going to learn is. I know the next thing I'm going to work on. And I think that, if anybody here, if you're aspiring to be like Becky, that's the mindset, isn't it? Even in your point of greatest victory, you've just won a medal at the Olympics. Are you thinking, well done me, I'm brilliant? No, you're thinking, what have I learned from this and how can I grow?
What can I go away and do better? Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why you're at the Olympics.
Yeah.
We got a deep one. How do you navigate a world where you feel surrounded by people that perhaps don't see their horses or let them have a voice? Is it possible to manifest an energy that would open more people's eyes to this magic world?
I'm actually very, very lucky because, like when I do a clinic, I've been very open about my journey, both on social media and on, in my YouTube videos. You can see I've left them all up from the beginning, so you can see the way I used to view the world and the way I view the world now. And now I also have a podcast that, has been quite successful. Last year it was in the top 1% of worldwide podcasts. And what was the question? Where was I going with that? Sorry, there you go. So I'm very lucky because people that come to see a clinic of mine, either be in it or spectate it, they're picking up what I'm putting down before they get there. And it's a very, very fortunate place to be because that I only get positive energy. You don't get that negative soul-sucking energy and trying to interact with people who want to argue with you or, reject what you're saying. It can be kind of soul-sucking work. But I do have a lot of people come up to me at the Horsemanship Showcase last week and they said, at my yard, what do I do? Like, there's this lady and she's doing it all wrong, and how do I help her and tell her? I said, you don't. You lead by example. You do what you believe in and do it so well that pretty soon they're going, how did you get your horse to do that? And once they ask you the question, vomit it all over them. But before they ask the question, you almost get one chance to make a good first impression sort of thing. And if they're not open to hearing what you have to say and you try to tell them they're doing it wrong, they'll never listen to a thing you say again. So if you can, like I said, lead by example, do what you do, and if you do it well enough, they will be interested, and then they'll start asking for advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you have to start from the place that anyone that has horses does actually have horses because they love them. I don't think it's something that you do if you don't love them because it's too hard, it's too expensive, it's all of those other things. And I think that a lot of the time when people are doing things not so well, it's a lack of education rather than intentionally. Well, it's not intentionally, that's not the right word, but I am a very big believer that we just have to try and educate. And as Warwick said, lead by example. And I think it comes back to communication. And, one thing that actually frustrates me so much at the minute is the negativity that we face on social media every day. And I appreciate that. I really appreciate that we have to do better. I completely agree with that, and I think but we all learn as we go, like we've talked about, and we all do things not very well and we learn and we do them better, but I do not see how being negative helps anybody. It doesn't help the person that you're being negative towards. I don't think it makes you feel any better, actually. It certainly wouldn't make me feel any better. So I think we really just have to try and be positive and try and strive to make people want to be better by doing it as well as we can.
There's a quote from the Bible that I've dragged around with me this year when this sort of topic's come up. And I am a religious person. And it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. And if you're someone who thinks that you know a better way to treat animals or to train a horse to do a certain movement, whether that be dressage, jumping, liberty, then the way to share that with others isn't to mock them, to distance yourself from them, to create negativity towards those who are less, who have less, not are less. That was misworded. That have less than you do, or that you perceive them to have that you do. And the only way that we can grow and get better is to share with one another. And I think a huge part of that comes with how we actually truly interact with our horses. Again, don't worry, I won't go too far this evening, but another one is, how come you can see the speck in your brother's eye, but not the log in your own? So if we actually analysed our own lives and horsemanship the same way we analyse those of those we judge or those we see online, would we be as kind to ourselves as we think we would be? And I think trying to bring that lens to the world when we're looking at one another, with horses and without horses, forget all of it, whether it be, parenting, your dog, your horse, the way you do your laundry, the way you keep your house. They're all things that we get defensive about because we're doing our blooming best, and it's to remember that everybody else is as well. And so If you think that someone could use that knowledge and you could actually help them, when you offer them that knowledge, offer it in a way that is compassionate and helpful, not like you're saying, okay, so that's wrong, because that's the best way to get someone's back up. Yeah,
and you know, I mean, a really good example of that is obviously stewarding has become a much bigger thing within our sport recently. And I've spent a lot of time talking to some of our stewards, Dan Chapman, who was actually the chief steward in Paris, who is our top national steward as well. And I really want to try and get together a working group of stewards, riders, judges, coaches to sort of try and develop a little bit more transparency within that system. But talking to him and talking to some of the other stewards, they were actually taught that if they, so they sit in the corner of the arena, and initially they were taught that if they saw something that they didn't like, first of all, they were to stand up. Then they were to stand up and make eye contact so you could tell that they were watching you. Then they were to cross their arms. And, you know, already you're like, what? Why? How is that going to help anybody?
Did they stamp their feet next? Is that what it is?
Pretty much, you know, and you know, and I mean, there's people really trying to change this, Dan being one of them. But, you know, this is from a couple of years ago. But, you know, that's just such a negative way of dealing with the problem, because immediately you're making a rider feel uncomfortable, threatened, you know, in a really bad way. Whereas I feel like we have to, you know, those stewards have to be, they have a really important job, but they have to be approachable and they have to be good communicators. And we as riders have to also be better to communicate. And that if a steward says something to us, we're like, okay, yeah, take it on board, try and fix it. But, you know, the minute somebody's standing up with their arms crossed, what does it make you be? Defensive, frustrated, all the wrong things that you know, you're already in a high stress situation. Riders are nervous, you know, anxious, all of those things at a competition. You want to try and make them feel more at home to enable them to help their horses better. The more you get them with their back up, the worse they're going to ride.
I think linking back to what we said in the first half, of where we all of us agreed on stage and in the audience that horses and people have to be allowed to make mistakes to grow. And so when people make mistakes with how they ride, you know, maybe you're in the warm-up, you're slightly overbent, all you need is someone to be like, mate, have you know, like, you know, or, you know, a steward to say you know, point someone back into the correct direction and then move on. There's no need. I think that's another thing, a great thing from those, when I had the lessons with Frederick, he said to me, horses don't hold grudges. So if you end up in a situation where you have to make a correction, make it and then get amnesia about it. Yeah. It never happened. And I think we need to bring that mindset to one another.
Yeah, but I think it's also, again, it's education, and it's that understanding that a horse that's working a little bit too round is not in roll cur, you know, and it's the difference between coming back to the young stallion that I rode the other day. You know, if I don't get on him and put him a little bit round at a show, it'd be like, bye Becky, wee, splat, and the horse would be off around the warm up, like looking for his lady friends. Actually, any friend, he doesn't mind. So, you know, it's being able to have that conversation and say, guys, I know this horse is a little bit too round. He's not too short and tight. He's just a little bit more over his back. Yes, he might be a little bit behind the vertical. That is not the worst thing in the world. I would not expect to get a good mark from the judge for this, because it's not where it needs to be ultimately. And I wouldn't try and take it into the test like that. But it's somewhere that I need to go to help that horse, to get him in a place where his brain goes, okay, focus, concentrate. Then we can put that poll up and that nose out. So, you know, it's that, and again, it's knowledge and understanding that develops that better.
Are you saying you would go to the steward first and say, hey, this horse starts out a bit like this, let me get through that and we'll be okay?
I probably wouldn't go there in the first place, okay. But if I felt like they were concerned, okay, then I would be like, I know what you're going to say. Yep. I'm doing this because I am going to make it better. And I really want to try and create an environment where that is something that you can do. And, you know, yes, a horse that is too round and tight. But also, I mean, how many people, I don't know, but I've certainly got on a horse at a show that has been anxious and a little bit worried. And it goes, okay, this is my happy place when I'm feeling like this. tucks its chin on its chest and it's nothing to do with me, and I might be trying my heart out to get that horse in the frame that I want, but until I can get a connection and get it to take the contact forward, it's not in that perfect place. And again, you have to be able to have that conversation, because that's not you putting that horse there. That horse is going for its happy place, which is just not where we need it at that point in time. So, you know, I think we have to have really open conversations about how we can make this better.
Yeah, you can't look at someone from the outside and know where that horse and human are on their journey. Like, do you know what I mean? It's you're seeing a snapshot. Even if you watch that person compete all day, you might see them ride for an hour and a half throughout the day. That's nothing. That's nothing in a horse's life. And I completely agree with you. I think we've had a conversation before this as well, and I said to you, I think something that would be spectacular from more competitive riders is doing a little bit more kind of what we do online, of putting those videos out and saying, look, this is the why, you know, this is what you're seeing, this is the why, this is where it goes, now you know more, don't freak out. Yeah. Don't, because I think that is a big thing.
But that is so difficult to do. You know, this is my point, that my social media is frivolous and fun and trying to be exceedingly positive, but I also don't put a picture on where my horse is behind the vertical, because I literally get pulled to bits if I do. And
I agree with you. Social media is so many things we post or like think about posting, and then you'll see like a twitch of an ear or a this or a horse looking the wrong, like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't look perfect. And I think it's such a weird thing, because we talk about horses having freedom and emotions and stuff, but then demand that they be nothing but impeccably smiley and happy constantly for it to be acceptable.
Yeah, that is such a valid point.
Like, if I look out at you guys here this evening,
some of you look really miserable.
Well, this is what I'm going to say. You're concentrating. Do you know, you chose to be here, you drove here, you bought the ticket, you're here. But then if I took pictures of you without you noticing, sat in the audience, then everybody who looked unhappy while we were like, I'm not saying, do you know what I mean? I'm not saying we can
Becky
read emotions.
and Ben is saying that some of you have resting bitch face.
But just that, do you know, to then say none of you can have anything to do with, do you know, any of what we do or anything like that ever again, because you were unhappy when we got that picture.
But it is, you know, the resting bitch face, you laugh, but, you know, Bomb, if we go to him as an example, I always say he is the epitome of a happy athlete. He goes in that arena and he smiles, yeah. But I have other horses that are, you know, I'm trying to get them in the same mental headspace, but because they are concentrating and they are thinking about what they're doing, they have a teeny bit of a resting bitch face when they're concentrating. So immediately they don't look like the same picture of the happy athlete, but actually they're still really with me, really focused, in a really good place. They just have a different face.
Driving from the airport this afternoon, so when you picked me up from the airport, we drove along, and I saw some horses standing in the field under a tree, and one of them, when we drove by, it's funny, I looked at him and I thought, if that horse is... So he's under a tree with his friends, with a foot cocked, and I looked at him, I thought, if that horse's head and face were on a picture on social media, someone would be saying how bad a rider the rider was. And this horse was standing under a tree in a field with his friends. And he just kind of happened to have that, you know,
A picture is not an okay thing to judge.
Obviously, we need to move on, have another question. But just to put one more thing on this, which is a bit humorous to finish it. We're all out for a hack together, okay?
That would be dangerous.
We're not. It would be blooming good fun with hip fast full of Jaeger bombs. We're all riding on the buckle end, or we're not even holding the reins. And the horses are going on, maybe ears a bit back, ears a bit sideways. And then suddenly, all of our horses in an instant prick their ears. Do we go, oh, what a moment of absolute unified, glorious happiness?
Or do we go, oh shit?
Or do we pop the feet back in the stirrups start to
safety position.
slowly gather things up. You look at the person riding next to you and you're like, yeah, and they're like, yeah, okay. And we're about to ride our 8 seconds in the rodeo ring, because we know...
Becky has reached for her neck strap.
Yeah. And this
My
is...
holy crap strap.
This is what I would say, do you know, because I say that and you all know it. You all know it. Equally, if we pull a horse out the stable, I think actually one of the biggest issues we have in this is, how do we make horses look really nice in photographs if we're having a professional photograph done? We try and spook the crap out of them with plastic bags and throwing sand and bottles full of rocks, so the horse is going, danger alert, what's over there? So there's so much more to, I guess, just to finish that, there's so much more to a horse than its ears. Watch their cheeks, watch their nostrils, watch how they breathe, watch their eyes, watch their eyelids. Do you know, there are so many aspects of a horse's body that will show you how it's feeling. The ears are not the end.
We should give credit to the person who asked that question, because we got some really valuable answers there. Want to own it? Oh, well done.
I mean, did we actually even answer your question?
I think what you say about communication, like my intention behind that was just not everybody sees the joy that I see available, and I would like to share that a little bit more. And I think that's just, I meant it in a positive way, but it's really interesting what it brought up from your perspective of that question. So thank you very much for answering it, the depth that you did.
Thank you. Okay. The next question, or our last question, touches slightly on social licence. And so I thought Warwick in the car journey today said he'd only heard the term social licence to operate about a week or 10 days ago, which was interesting. Could we have a show of hands for people who know the term to do in the equestrian industry, social licence to operate? So not many, is it? We're probably about 15%, 20%, would you say? Of those of you that have heard of it, would you be able to explain to somebody what it meant? Put your hands up, would you? Somebody want to hazard a suggestion for us? Yeah, so absolutely right. So it's a public perception of our right, for want of a better expression, to actually use horses in our lives. And it is the use of horses rather than just having horses in our lives. This lady, because obviously given the extraordinary scenes that we've seen on numerous videos this year, and unfortunately dressage did take one for the team, because it's certainly not an exclusive discipline for, shall we say, unacceptable training methods. So I shall paraphrase towards the end of this, but could the panel maybe, she's asked, how is the need to meet the expectations of social licence changing the sport, and how could you contribute in terms of training methods and techniques?
It starts with transparency and communication. You know, I would always like to think that anybody could walk onto my yard at any point and I could talk about what I was doing and why, and it would be understandable. I think in terms of how, I mean, it's probably slightly different for us because it's probably going to be my side of it that it impacts you as much as well. In terms of how it impacts the sport, I mean, ultimately, I think it's going to impact the sport for the better. And I think that's how we have to look at it. I think that, you know, this is where I come back again to the fact that we have to be done with the negativity and we have to look at how we're going to make it better going forward. And that is transparency and communication. But I also, you know, I think that we have to try and show the world that we are not making our horses do this. Horses need this. They enjoy doing this, whether that's, you know, your crazy eventers jumping around huge tracks but looking like they're having the time of their life, or mine doing stupid dancing on the spot but still quite enjoying it, and these guys doing slut drops in fishnets. And I mean, that horse was loving it. But I think, from my point of view, if I actually think the important thing with how we deal with this, transparency, communication, but also knowledge. I think, if you take, for example, the bridle bit, noseband rule, all of those kind of things, I have no problem with people being able to ride in snaffle bridles. I don't see why it shouldn't be allowed at any level. I think it will be quite soon. I think I find it quite difficult when people say, oh yeah, you should even be able to do it in a bitless bridle. Fine, but actually understand that a hackamore, if you ride in a hackamore, has 2 much stronger pressure points than a double bridle that has many pressure points, but the pressure is spread around them. So actually, scientifically, a hackamore can cause more issues than a double. It's about how you use the equipment that you are wearing. Okay, so I think and the whole noseband thing. I think if it gets to the point where we may as well not have a noseband on because it's so loose, I'm not sure that it'll actually benefit the sport. I think we have to keep looking to the science as well, and the horses. Obviously the horses are paramount, but we have to look at actually the effect of what we're doing and to educate people about the findings that are made, because I do think that's really relevant.
For me, I don't want to get into it on individual topics, because firstly, I think it's such a hard question for us to ask. None of us beat our horses or anything like that, so we can't tell you how to change those who are, do you know what I mean? We're as baffled as the rest of everybody else is that horses get treated in certain ways. The danger that I see with it is, have you ever seen how there'll be a riot in London because of something completely justified? Those young girls that got brutally killed during that Taylor Swift dance class, the Black Lives Matter protest, those sorts of things that start out for a fantastic cause, and then it ends up with young hooligans breaking shop windows to rob stuff. I feel like that's happening a little bit with this. If someone's genuinely abusing a horse, they should be stopped. Now, this is where I probably differ. I'm not actually sure calling people out is a good idea. It is the best way to go about it. You want someone to plant their flag on that hill and dig their heels in, attack them. I think, like everything we've already said about this idea of growth and change, that doesn't just apply to the things you like. You're not forgiving and generous if you're only nice to people that you like. And I think that comes in a big way. And I think we're in danger of actually us, as the equestrian community, making this worse to the non-equestrian community who look in, because we want to make such a big palaver and crucify everybody who we can catch in a moment. There are scientific studies that study the brain waves of people who are involved in a witch hunt on Facebook, and they're the same brain patterns as people who are enjoying watching a public execution. Says a lot about us as people. So I think that's the danger of it. I think there are good things happening, and I think we'll sort of stumble our way through, and I agree with Becky, I think there's going to be a lot of positive change. The other thing I would like to say is I was worried about this, but then I've had quite a lot of things happen in my life recently that have shown me that I don't think the whole social licensing is as much of a... Now, I'm separating the concept of social licensing away from the concept of horses being trained badly, because I don't actually think those things sit together as much as people pretend they do. Yeah. I think it's brilliant that we're trying to do as much to change horses and make horses be respected and trained in a way that has integrity. What's integrity? Doing what's right even when nobody's watching. But I just spent the last 3 days on the phone to Britain's Got Talent with them begging me to go on with my horses. And me saying no, because I'm just not interested. Do you think Britain's Got Talent, a big company like that, with all the money behind it like that, would be desperate for a horse act if they thought the British public didn't like horses? No. I'm talking to a friend who's running a company that's just invested, so I think it's 200 to 300 million in a new range of equine product. The product is incredible. Do big multinational companies do that if horse riding's about to get banned and thrown down the drain? If I asked you what was the biggest problem in social licensing in this country, you'd probably say dressage. I went to America and tried to start that conversation, and they laughed in my face and went, what? No one cares about dressage, it's eventing. So we live in these apocalyptic echo chambers where we go round and round and round with all the negativity because it's so absorbing. And it feels great to be able to be like, oh, I struggled to get the right canter lead today, but I'm not doing that, so let's shout at that person. But I don't think that helps. And I think it's that, just we're adults. Let's be a bit more adult about this. If you see something wrong happening, I called 3 people out at Dublin Horse Show. That's the real way to change this. There were 3 people, and I said the same sentence to each of them. They were leading horses and just knocking them around while they were leading them. And I didn't go up and say, I'm sorry, stop that, I'm filming it. No, you're not. How's that going to help? I said, I'm really sorry, I hate to come over, but I'm pretty sure there's a better way you could be doing that. And then they walked off, and then they stopped jagging it in the mouth with a chiffney. That's all it needs to be sometimes. Most people who are doing something wrong know they're doing something wrong. It doesn't need to be a witch hunt. It can just be hey, come on. The same way that at Christmas, when I start telling certain jokes that I love, my wife will look at me from across the table, and I will know, hey, come on, rein it back in.
So I'm no longer involved in a sport, but kind of what Ben was talking about made me think, think about would this social licensing thing be a big deal if there was no social media? If we just had TV and newspapers, would it be a big deal? No, because a newspaper gets printed and you read it at home and you piss and moan about it, or you like the article, but there's no conversation about it. Same thing on TV. And so for me, I would say the best thing you can do is do not comment on anything negative on social media. Don't add any energy to it. Because, like Ben said, you telling people they're doing it wrong is not there's no way to influence them, but just don't buy into it. And I always tell, some people go, they'll send me a text or a screenshot of so-and-so in this group, they're talking about you, and they say, my reply is, do not defend me. Okay? Don't go there. Don't give it any energy. It doesn't need any energy. If you ignore it, it'll go away. Think about someone who wants to get on their high horse on social media. If they posted a post and comments 0, where does that energy go? It doesn't go anywhere. So I'd just say, just don't get it. If another thing pops up, came up this year, and it was all over the place and everybody had an opinion on it, just don't comment on it, and it'll go away. And I'm not talking about, like you were talking about the little girls at Taylor Swift thing or whatever, but I'm just talking about just putting negative energy into the whole horse space. Think about those people who are up in arms on social media. Are they actually walking down to their local pony club and protesting outside with signs? Do they really give a shit? Or are they just sitting at home on their couch oh, there's an easy pot shot right there. It's almost, I think a lot of times it's almost them publicly displaying their triggers. Something triggers me from childhood or whatever, but it's almost like them publicly displaying their triggers. And, the best thing you can do is not put any energy into it, even, and that's for the public space, but even for yourself. Don't even read it and then go, I'm not going to comment, but they're a bitch. Because someone who you don't know, who doesn't know you, has now affected you in a negative way. Just don't let that stuff in, because social media can be a nasty place, and if you just let all that stuff in, believe me, I know, because I have a relatively big space in the social media space, and I have let it affect me at times, and it can eat you alive. You know what I mean? So yeah, just don't add to their negativity, and don't let them cause you to be negative. The end.
Could I just tag on to the end of that? Like, I agree with everything Warwick just said, how powerful it is, how we fan the flames of negative energy. You can do the opposite as well. When you find people who you think are amazing, who you know train ethically, big them up. Push it out. Because I think that's the biggest thing. We get so many, that's wrong. Blimey hell, what's right? And trying to fan the flames of that positivity so that people have positive idols and stuff to look up to, and not just this slurry.
Fabulous. I'm feeling so happy that we got a good team here tonight. I'd like to lighten the mood a little bit for us to finish. So, because there's not been anywhere near enough time, I've probably got 200 questions. I thought we'd finish with a little bit of a quick fire for a bit of fun, shall we?
Quick fire? Are you kidding?
Quick fire.
All right.
A little bit of time. Okay, so I have got 15 quick fire questions. Just quick. Pile in. Okay. Do you speak more than one language?
English and Yorkshire.
No.
Australian, American, British, and a little bit Irish and Southern American. Y'all.
Would you ever appear on a reality TV show?
Absolutely not.
No, and I know I wouldn't because I was asked to go on Love Island.
Oh.
I actually thought I did. I had some producers from LA contact me about 10 years ago, wanted to do a reality show on me, and they came up and they filmed a pilot for it, and when I saw it, it's like, oh, they're trying to turn me into somebody I'm not.
Yeah.
So it was a no.
No.
Do you know what? The one that I would maybe do... would you call it reality? Strictly. I'd be absolutely shit, but I would be comedy value.
Yeah.
I'd get the like sympathy vote.
I don't know if you'd want to do that. So I know a guy named Ty Murray. People here in the UK probably wouldn't know who Ty Murray is, but he was the king of the rodeo cowboys. He was a 6-time all-around world champion rodeo cowboy, amazing athlete, whatever. And he went on dancing. So he married the singer Jewel. Okay, but they had him on Dancing with the Stars, and after the first week of training, he said, "I felt like I'd been eaten by a coyote and pooped over a cliff."
So maybe I should retract that statement.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Nope.
I'm open.
Nothing's off the table with me these days.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
Bath. With candles. I've got one of those bath holders. Every night I have a bath with scented candles, and I get the iPad on the thing, and then, yeah.
Oh my
Fabulous.
God.
I'm both.
Both. Appaloosa or paint or coloured?
Coloured.
Coloured. I have an Appaloosa. I have 55 horses. I ride one in a hard hat.
Paint.
Okay, celebrity crush.
Warwick Schiller.
Fabulous. Oh.
I'm going to admit something.
Be honest.
David Tennant. I love him. Doctor Who. He was the best Doctor Who.
Henry Cavill.
As which character?
Oh. Superman.
No, Witcher.
it's the
Witcher.
spandex.
Yeah, if I was going Henry Cavill, it would be The Witcher.
No, not with the peroxide blonde hair.
Late 90s Jennifer Love Hewitt.
That's so
Very specific.
I wouldn't know what she looks like these days, but there was a time there where I thought that was perfection out there.
I mean, I think you should take her, if you wanted her then, you should still want her now. You shouldn't ditch her just because she's got a bit wrinkly and fat.
Marmite, yes or no?
No.
I grew up in Australia. I'm not even a Vegemite kid, so I'm not even eating that stuff.
If you could morph into an animal, what would it be?
Can it be a fantasy animal?
Absolutely.
A dragon.
I'm be really boring. Probably a horse.
Right.
Yeah. Then George could go to the Olympics because I'd be the horse and it'd go really well.
I'm going to be very specific. I would like to come back as one of Ben Atkinson's horses.
Oh.
I'm sorry, but actually, no, I don't think you would go really well for George. You'd be like, no, I'm not doing that now.
I'm like, that change was only a little bit late.
Do you collect anything?
Horses. Scars, arthritis, do you know, broken shavings forks.
That is a freakily similar list. Broom handles as
Horses,
well.
yeah.
Horses. Is your bed made right now?
It is. Every morning.
Did you make the bed before we left? Yeah.
No.
A favourite quote?
When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Marcus Aurelius, imagine that you have died. Now take the rest. Imagine that you are dead. Now take the rest of your life and live it properly.
Oh.
To infinity and beyond. I'll just lower the tone down. Marcus Aurelius. Come on.
I feel like we should end it there, but I'll carry on. Crocodile Dundee or Dances with Wolves?
Dances with Wolves. Shumani Tutonka Owo Chichielo.
Crocodile Dundee.
Tatanka, good trade. Dances with Wolves.
This is ironic. Your favourite word?
It's an Australian word and I can't say it on stage. I don't know. Favourite word?
Word, yeah.
Moist.
That's her, not me. Ikigai.
What?
Ikigai. It's a Japanese thing. It's like a Venn diagram. It's where what you're good at, what you're passionate about, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for, and it all joins in the middle. And if you can do that, you're doing it, I'm doing it, then you're the luckiest person in the world.
Oh.
Shit. I really feel like I've just been brought here to lower the tone.
You know what? I'm not sure I can hang out with these British dressage riders anymore. They're such uncouth people.
I may be the exception.
I think we've nailed it. If anybody doesn't have any burning questions, I don't actually think we've got time for them. We could be here all night. I feel absolutely over the moon at how this evening has gone. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have. What a great team you guys are, and what a great voice for the horse you are too. So thank you all very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it like we did.